Yes, welcome back. This is Exopolitics TV, and I'm Alfred Lambermont Weber. And today we have a very special guest, uh, a brilliant author whose latest book is now being made into a major motion picture, and also a brilliant interdimensional researcher and psychic, as well as an activist and protector of the cetaceans. Welcome, Patricia Cori, speaking to us from Los Angeles, California. Welcome.
Thanks, Alfred. It's great to be back with you, see your beautiful sunny face, and acknowledging also all the wonderful work you're doing. And thank you for that great intro.
Well, I just have to say I'm totally just in awe that you're manifesting this project of uh, the 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 emissary, and where your novel is now you're manifesting it as a major motion picture. And could you tell us the genesis of this project and how it's now becoming a major motion picture and your involvement in all of that?
Okay. My past work is, as you mentioned, interdimensional channeling or bringing
Yeah.
through that information on those levels. And I decided one morning I woke up and heard the message that it was time to make a film, to write a film, because it was time to really reach out now. We need to reach those critical mass numbers that you and I have discussed. And I had no idea how to write a screenplay, but I was guided to it. So I got on the internet and typed in how to write a screenplay.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that. And I got some silly little tips, but obviously you're not going to get a screenwriting course on the internet. And I got the software, final draft,
Yeah.
and set out on my journey to write this screenplay. It was the first time I've ever embarked on anything like that with no experience. And it was amazing because it was still the process of just having that creative flow come through, yet with the parameters of the structure of a screenplay, which is very articulated. There are certain rules that you've got to follow, and it was very new to me, but I just was off and running because I was using the storytelling mechanism to bring through my concerns about the oceans, obviously, the whales and the dolphins, and some of the primary themes that are in the screenplay address issues that you and I are absolutely concerned about as people who are, let's say, awakening on this planet. So it was effortless. I wrote this screenplay in 3 months.
Wow.
And my publisher got my publisher said, "You've been silent. What are you up to?" And when they knew that I was writing a screenplay, asked to see it and said, "Oh my God, we love this. Give us a novel."
Oh.
But in the meantime, I already was looking around, and I relatively quickly, a producer grabbed the Emissary script and said, "I'm signing this. We want this." So while I was still writing the novel, I was already optioned by the publisher. Sorry, the producer.
Producer.
Those words. And I'm here and one of the reasons why I'm here in LA is meeting with the producers and
Oh, wow.
seeing where we're going, because obviously they've got to create the package. The package involves funding, getting the right people to play the parts. But the exciting thing is they're going for A-list. So we're looking at a main.
Oh, you're going for A-list. Wow.
For A-list. And the fact that I've written the screenplay means they can't make it Hollywood. They can't destroy the story or the ethics of the story. And I have a very ethical producer who intends to honor that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And so we're talking about breaking through even in mainstream with stories that have an impact for society. And I am delighted to be here to do that.
That just, I have all kinds of questions, but let me kind of back up to the beginning, because I didn't know that the chicken became before the egg or the egg came before the chicken, because I thought that you wrote the book first and then the movie, but This makes it very, very interesting.
From reading my earlier books that I was bringing through information about HAARP
Yeah,
back in 1999 was when I channeled the Atlantis Rising information.
yeah.
And the opening of this book, which I can give away, is that very quickly we have three scenarios taking place on the Earth, which are bizarre ecological disasters.
Hmm.
They're treated as little vignettes. I think it's a chapter and a half. The first one occurs in Los Angeles. A man is driving home from a busy day at work and stops to speak to a friend in the street. And as they're talking, 600 red-tipped blackbirds fall dead. Bam! Dead on arrival out of the sky simultaneously. And we jump to the next scenario, which is in Maine. At the simultaneous moment in time, a woman goes out to her backyard to go for a walk on the beach with her kids, and she spots 30, 40, as far as the eye can see, thousands, tens of thousands of fish dead on the beach, and runs back in. And the book analyzes the fact that she knows it must be fresh kill. There's still no stench of dead fish. This has just happened. So she's terrified. What force could have caused this to happen? And lo and behold, here in LA, I just read yesterday, there's been another one of these events somewhere in the States. Another just massive fish kill in some, I'm afraid I don't know exactly where it happened, but hundreds of thousands of fish, rays, etc., dead floating in the beach. So this tendency that I have to write information that then becomes validated in reality happens with all of my work, and it's happening with the Emissary too. The third vignette is on a beach in New Zealand. Again, same time, because now this is the other side of the planet. And it's in a resort beach in New Zealand. Jamie Hastings is the principal character, the heroine of the story, and she is this psychic who is on vacation in New Zealand, getting away from the work that she does and the weightiness of that work. And doesn't she find herself in the middle of this horrific scene where these whales are dying, whales and dolphins? So she goes out and tries to help as a volunteer and makes a very powerful connection to a humpback whale, an extremely pregnant humpback whale, and Jamie asks permission of the whale to touch in at the soul level, and just before they die, she helps them across the Rainbow Bridge. And this becomes a very important aspect of the story because she has this connection with these whales, particularly this mother whale. And the eye of that whale, Jamie looks into the eye as she dies, and the eye of the whale is actually almost a character unto itself throughout the story. So that first chapter ends with us flying over this strange base somewhere in Alaska where shooting rays of fiery electricity are blocks, city blocks long of these towers that are zapping whatever. And we all know I'm talking about HAARP. And the projection is that HAARP is creating these incidents. So as far as you saying information that won't make people happy, we go right in.
Yeah. Hello.
Are you there?
Yeah. Sorry.
I guess
Could
that would be
you?
a subject area.
Yeah. Could you? Where you ended up information that won't make people happy? Could you take it from there? Because right at that point, somebody just came in and made things really wonky.
Yeah. Well, I was saying that surely is information that won't make people happy, and then you turned into a strange-looking pixel man.
Yeah. I guess we were both pixeling out.
We're so used to this, Alfred.
Yeah, I know.
So what I was saying was that this, I clearly am talking about HAARP in that last paragraph describing this place in Alaska. It says, and lo and behold, while all of these events were taking place around the planet, in a remote military base in the snowy fields of Alaska, bolts of lightning and electrical currents were shooting out across city blocks antenna. That's how the chapter ends. This is my basic thing that is military and very lethal and secret, is causing terrific, horrific danger and destruction to the planet. And it's killing the fish, it's killing the whales, and it's probably killing us too, but I don't go there at that early part of the book. But as we evolve through this story, we are looking at the question of the planet's survival, cleverly disguised as a novel with bad guys and good guys, and as Jim Marrs said, sexy agents, singing whales and dolphins, bad guys, CIA agents, it's got it all. But this is a story of this woman, Jamie, who has this incredible connection with the whales, and they tell her that she is their emissary and that they need her to bring the message to humanity and also to help them save the planet by saving the frequencies of the ocean.
Right, right. And there, Jamie has a very special connection, which you just mentioned, to the cetaceans, to the whales and dolphins. So she finds herself on a ship, correct? Hello?
Yeah, the story goes that a tycoon hears about her immense capacities and approaches her to go out on their oil research vessel in the Pacific, because they've got a 5-year permission to drill, to look for oil and drill in the Pacific. And he believes that maybe bringing in this psychic. Are you still there, Alfred?
Oh, I'm right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
He decides that if she's such a great psychic, maybe he can utilize her skills to actually help them locate where to drill, because he finds out that she actually found drill sites in Pakistan and helped the Pakistanis find 3 drill sites. So he says, well, let's use a psychic. And it's really kind of a tongue-in-cheek storyline, because he's a Texan cowboy type, and his board of directors are saying, Matt, have you gone wonky? We're looking at psychics now. And he says, well, all of you guys are sleeping and doing nothing. I'm looking for alternatives because we're doing nothing out there. So he approaches her and she says, look, you're the enemy. I am trying to help the whales. Why would I go on an oil ship to help you destroy the ocean? And it's a beautiful actual dichotomy here. He says, well, because I'm an ocean friendly driller, and I'm an ecology guy. And he schmoozes her into believing that by helping him, he won't dredge up the ocean, and that she will actually, they're going to do it anyway. Do it with us. We're ecology friendly. We will, with your skill, we may just be able to do this without damaging any additional base ground in the water. So she agrees. He also promises her that he will help her get to the heavyweights, and so that she can get her message to the politicians and hopefully help the whales and dolphins. So she does agree to go out on this ship, and then all hell breaks loose because the whales start communicating to her. Almost immediately, she starts hearing the whales speak to her, and they're trying to tell her that if they don't stop the sonar is killing them. It's disrupting the ocean. If they don't stop it, a catastrophe is going to occur.
Right, right. I don't quite know how to ask the questions here without revealing the plot. So I'm going to turn it over to you, because you're much more expert at knowing how to navigate forward.
Okay.
Because I'm you know, I would just go ahead and tell the story. So why don't you go ahead?
Well, I think you should be free to do what you want, because obviously there's also.
Well, no. Well, look, then let me ask this:
Okay.
How do things develop with Jamie and her relationship with the whales and the dolphins?
All right, she goes out and very having these strange, mystical occurrences, and one of them is that she's going to sleep the first night on the ship, and she takes a picture because there's a whale. She sees a humpback whale in the distance and a couple of dolphins in the distance breaching under the moonlight. So she snaps a picture, and she goes to bed. And the next morning, when she looks at the camera, she sees not whales and dolphins breaching in the moonlight, but the eye of a whale. And it's the eye, of course, of the whale that she connected with. And so there's that very mystical element woven into the storyline where the reader is saying, huh, what's going on here? And soon, very soon in the storyline, the ship goes out and the whales start approaching the ship. And never, I think, with the perhaps Moby Dick, but we've never seen a story or a movie where whales are the bad guys. I mean, we can see as many as we want of sharks attacking, but never whales. And I deliberately did that juxtaposition because I wanted the reader to think that these whales are for some reason aggressive and dangerous. And of course, how could that be when I love them so much? And so what's really happening is they're trying to get her attention and communicate with her. Meanwhile, they are in a frenzy because the ship is using seismic gun array and very powerful sonar, which she had made very clear she would not allow while she was on the ship. And so these whales start to amass around the ship, and it's a scene that it's going to be very interesting how they're going to possibly produce that in film, don't you think?
Yeah. In fact, that was one of the questions that I was going to ask. Would they use CGI or something?
They're going to have to, I think. I don't think you can get 100 very angry whales to encircle a ship. But they may have to also probably build a couple of robotics. I don't know yet, but I'm delighted in contemplating how that will be played out.
Yeah.
But for the reader, you're looking at suddenly this ship, more and more whales are coming in, and always this humpback whale with the eye looking up at her. And there's an accident because they drop a, oh dear, what's it called? Microphone into the water to listen.
Hydrophone.
Thank you so much. Because Jamie is trying to make them understand here to her. And there's plea here she wants them to hear because, of course, she's a bunch of macho sailors with her, and everybody thinks she's kooky, and as much as possible they ignore her. And she says, don't you understand? Don't you hear this? Listen. And she drops the hydrophone into the water, and it gets entangled around this humpback's neck. And when Jamie tries to free the cord, she slips and falls and cracks her head open. And this is a very pivotal moment in the story. So from there on, it's hard to tell it without telling the entire story. But an adventure ensues where she knows what they're saying. She knows what evil lurks. And she's unconscious and taken away and then dealt with, let's say, by nefarious forces that want that information not to come out to the world.
Right. And however, while I was reading it, I didn't see the whales so much as the bad guys, but rather they were trying to protect something.
Exactly.
Because their what they valued was being encroached upon by the sonar and by all of that, and they were trying to get a message across.
Yes, what I meant by that was at first when the captain says, "I've never seen," when the captain is talking to the Coast Guard and he's saying, "I got a bunch of mean-looking, angry whales out here," and the Coast Guard say, "Jimbo, have you been drinking?" What are you, whales? And he said, they're surrounding the ship here. I'm talking very angry, frenzied whales. And I wanted to create that tension because this is not how we understand whales to behave. And of course, the frenzy is due to the fact that they're trying desperately to get this information through her, and because this equipment is on and making them all the more frenzied. And then, of course, when she has the accident, they go ballistic. So, but yes, they are trying. They know that she is this whale communicator, and that's the storyline, is that she is the emissary, their emissary. And then there's this other storyline in the deep that is the surprise element, but I think we can talk about it, and that is that we learn at some point that there is a submerged colony of aliens in the deep, and that's why these whales are amassing out there in the Pacific at what we refer to in the storyline as the sanctuary. So we soon learn that the whales are actually also trying to communicate to Jamie that there are these beings underwater, and these sounds and this destruction is also aimed at destroying them.
Right, right. Now, let's segue from that back to the interests which have occupied a lot of your active life, which actually brought you to that moment when you received that signal to write this movie, which is really about communicating to a wider audience some of these concerns and awarenesses. In real life, there are contactees who report whales being taken up.
Multidimensional, they're galactic, they exist in many stations on many planets, and they're also multidimensional beings. And as we've discussed before, I understand that they are weaving the music, weaving sound, and in weaving that, because we know sound, light, vibration are all part of the equation, they're actually some sort of, I would not want to use the word heading because that scares us into thinking that we're talking about some kind of a control device. But let's say that they're weaving some sort of a fabric, if you will, that holds the whole structure of the galaxy together, and most definitely that holds the oceans of the Earth together on a 3D dimensional plane. And this is becoming more and more feasible and easy to understand when we learn more and more about the nature of the memory of water, and the beautiful Dr. Emoto, what he's shown us about how water retains memory. And the whales and dolphins songs, you're not going to tell me that all these songs that can last, in the case of the humpback whales, 35, 40-minute sequences that do not repeat, that can be sung and received 1,000 miles away. I just will never believe that this is for the purpose of mating calls or hunting, because we know that.
Go ahead. Hello? Yes, go ahead.
No, in nature, there's no waste. Everything makes purity. Can you hear me speaking?
Yes.
Okay. So I was saying that we know that there's no waste in nature. Everything has a purpose, and everything is so perfectly designed in the flow and ebb of life on this planet. So for a dolphin or a whale, well, let's say for a whale to be able to send its song 1,000 miles away, and then to be picked up by a whale 1,000 miles away and sung again, there's a relay system going on here. Now we've got researchers. One of them is a man named Pierre, I think his last name is Lavigne, and he's working with an instrument that he calls the shell tone, which is a sort of conch shell made out of resins that he developed this with Stanford University. He goes underwater, he plays this conch shell, and the whales play back to him what he's played, right? And he has written, or he's, let's say, done pieces that last 30 minutes, and the whales perfectly repeat this song. And then we've got research people at different locations around the planet that are studying the whale calls and say, oh my God, I've just heard your piece out here in Maui. So he said, we're actually working on writing an opera with the whales of the world.
Amazing.
And he said, that's my mission. We're writing an opera, an opus that is being sung around the planet. I believe that this music has everything to do with holding the oceans together, and that is the emotional body of Gaia, and that this is the function of this music. And also, this incredible music is reminding the water of its perfection. We know the beautiful things that have been done by Dr. Emoto when he prays to the water crystals, when he speaks them, when he loves them. Imagine that 80% of this planet is water, and the whales and dolphins are the great musician in those oceans. And I find it very particular that there is this war on to blast the oceans with sonar.
Right, right. Now, which takes me to the next question, which is, having seen all that, and you and I have both seen the data whereby it seems like agencies like the U.S. Navy and others are carrying out an electromagnetic and sonar war to depopulate the oceans of cetaceans. Why do you believe that that's happening?
Well, this will probably be where the screen goes fuzzy again. But some people say it is, unfortunately, let's call it a byproduct of these tests that they're doing, whereas I am out here screaming with you, with people like Rosalind Peterson, that this is deliberate. Because I cannot believe that we have a new 5-year program coming up where all holds are barred. Is that the right expression? Holds are barred. No more holds, what I think I'm trying to say here. Yeah. And whale sanctuaries, marine sanctuaries, no more protection. They're now going after Southern California, I believe, and places along the coast in the pristine waters that I speak about in the Emissary. New 5-year testing programs by the Navy, much worse sonar, laser sonar, which I don't even know what that is, bombs, chemical attacks. We saw what they did in the Gulf with Core Exit. They're destroying. It's a deliberate. Don't tell me that you're doing this because you're trying to protect the Earth against terrorists. How stupid do you think we are? The Navy has said they estimated 5 years they're going to take out 11.8 million mammals, sea mammals. And just today, there's been another massive die-off. More marine animals are washing up dead, emaciated on this shore, on the setting of the Emissary. And we had until April 16th to voice our opinion to the NOAA about this, and a few people showed up. And the Navy has enacted this new 5-year policy. They are deliberately killing the whales and dolphins. And I know I'm not going to be popular with a few people for saying that, but that's what I believe. And that's what comes through in the message in the Emissary. And right. You asked me why.
Yeah, no, sure. And
I'd like to just answer the question. You asked me why.
Yes, why?
And I believe it's because they want to lower the vibration of the planet. And the music of the whales and dolphins holds the planet in this celestial song. And I think they want to silence that music.
And why is that?
Well, we know that there are forces on this planet that are doing their very best, very, very best to lower the planet's frequency, between the glutting of the oil, the destruction of the oceans, war on every level. There are underground alien bases that are not of the highest frequency. It's starting to appear to me that there's a deliberate intention to turn this planet into some sort of a fueling station for other planetary beings that are more than happy to eliminate the whole living species content of the Earth and turn it into a place to mine ore, to mine gold, and to suck all of the oil and whatever resources there are out. In fact, in the last pages of the Emissary, it says, as long as the Earth is rich in mineral resources, there will be forces that want to strip them out. And that is something very concerning.
Right. So, in a way, through the emissary, your message is getting out to a much wider audience.
I lost you there for a minute.
Yeah, sorry. So that in a way, through the emissary, this essential reality message is getting out to a much wider audience.
Well, I hope so. We're doing really well so far. The book is really getting a lot of acclaim, and hopefully the movie will go into production relatively soon, and that will be a great catalyst. And I'm using fiction to be able to make that easier for people to contemplate. Because let's face it, in fiction, we can hear any kind of scary information and say, well, it's just fiction. So my other works have the quality of people saying, oh, please, or wow, that's the most exciting information I've ever heard, but it's esoteric. So here is a safety zone where people can be comfortable that they can still enjoy the information and know that it's a scary story or a great story, but it's fiction. And then the people that do understand the message can embrace it and say, oh, okay, great. So we're now able to reach out to more people and hopefully start getting those critical mass numbers where we can turn this around.
Right. I know that I was very moved by the emissary, by the work, because my own research has shown that the cetaceans, the whales, and the dolphins play, as you said, a crucial role here in terms of stabilizing the planet on behalf of those interdimensional forces, the extraterrestrials that are the guardians of the planet, and that there's a struggle now going on between forces, let's call them the darker forces and the forces of light, and that the whales and the dolphins are the sort of the ambassadors of, or the, of the forces of light here on the planet, and an intimate part of what makes this an advanced planet. And that right now, agencies like certain parts of the military, the U.S. Navy, are playing for the dark side. So it's necessary to expose this.
It is necessary, and it takes courage, and you got you and I qualify for that category. And I agree with you completely that the whales and dolphins are first of all, they're symbols of joy. They're symbols of freedom. They're symbols of love. And these are aspects of humanity that are being beaten out of human beings in some ways by the control factors that want to bring the energy of the planet down. And as we see so many people rising beyond that despair and control, let's call it the New Age movement, the spiritual people, however you want to identify that increasing number of souls. We love the whales and dolphins. They inspire us. They're light. And people who want to control us do not want us to feel that. That's why the sacred sites are being closed, and that's why all of this determined intent to suppress the human will is at play. And 12 million dead whales and dolphins, we can't let that happen.
Right. So how can people become more intimately involved with protecting the cetacean nation?
I think some remarkable things are taking place. We have the declaration about a month ago from the United Nations High Court that declared that the Japanese could no longer go out and kill whales in the name of research. This was a good day for the whales, even though you and I both know that they'll find a subterfuge, a new way to call it. and they'll be back out there. But we've got Sea Shepherd out there charging these ships and I just adore Sea Shepherd. I think they're controversial because they break the rules. And as Captain Paul Watson said, we have to break the rules because the rules are not protecting the cetaceans or the oceans. So I will keep breaking the rules as long as one whale breathes. So we have more and more cognizance of people who are doing that kind of work out there. We have the beautiful film Blackfish, which is significantly putting a dent in the sea worlds. Cove and the reality of Talgy and what's going on there, and a growing groundswell of people who are waking up to the situation of ecological destruction, pollution, the plastic, and also the mindlessness of humans who still don't care. And I'm doing my best to bring forward that information about the military, which is a scary area. A lot of people won't go, which is why I'm so grateful that you will and that you've brought me back on your show. And I will keep screaming about that. And more organizations are also speaking about that. It's a little bit more dangerous or scary to do that, but more and more people are getting that as well. And I'm hoping that the Emissary will blow it right out of the water, no pun intended.
Right, right. I just wanted to bring this area up, and I know that it's a very controversial area, but you know, we have to bring it up. Have you run across any research that suggests that the whales and dolphins, particularly in the Pacific Ocean, may be being affected by any radiation discharges from Fukushima?
Well, absolutely. We know that the starfish have turned to mush. We know that on the West Coast, the sardines have disappeared. So, for starters, we have to consider that obviously the plankton is probably radioactive. This Fukushima cloud is moving over here. And how can people think that this is not going to affect the entire planet? My family is here, and they say, well, yeah, but even if it affects the water, it's not going to come here. And I say, but the water is here. We are the planet. And what makes you think that a plume of Fukushima radiation is going to sit over the Pacific and not destroy anything else and never affect any other reality? And what about the whales and dolphins that are there? They're dying. We've got a serious issue today. I don't know how many seals washed up, emaciated seals with blisters on their skin. This is not radiation? Come on, folks. So the Fukushima situation, which I know that you're really bringing forward, I just don't know how that's going to resolve. I just don't understand how we cannot be more concerned about Fukushima and brush it off. And perhaps it's just because it is absolutely too scary for people to contemplate. So we can't go there. However, I do think that there must be some celestial solution, because Earth is a living celestial body. And just like the cells of our body, when we're attacked by bacteria, our body usually knows what to do, and move all the cellular, molecular nature of the human body moves into action to fight off that invasion. So in my optimism, I'm hoping that planet Earth and body know how to dissolve or somehow collect that radiation. Meanwhile, whales and dolphins are dying.
Right, and just to pick up on that thread, you know, and you've been a great teacher to me, and in fact, in my new book, which I'd like to send you a copy of, The Dimensional Ecology of the Omniverse, actually draw on some of our interviews about the origin of Homo sapiens and how we're a project of a consortium of a regional galactic governance council. And there's so much that's been invested in this planet by very positive sources that it seems that they would not allow this planet to be totally destroyed by, say, the fact that momentarily the pendulum has gone one way rather than the other, especially since if you look at it, radiation is just energy. And my
Right.
understanding is that these advanced interdimensional beings have the technology to just shift the radiation very quickly and to neutralize it.
I hope you're right. Deal invasive things, and so I am watching the extraordinary behavior of the sun, and knowing that there is this wonderful dynamic between the sun and the earth. I'm anticipating that some aspect of the mutating sun may very well be involved with absorbing or deflecting or somehow eliminating this radiation, this threat to humankind and to the planet. But I am optimistic because I just, not for a minute, believe that we're just going to all fry in radiation.
Yeah.
That just doesn't work for me. But in the interim, in this period, whales and dolphins are dying from a number of things. Do we really need to also attack them with sonar and with all of these other bombs in the oceans? I mean, these animals have these immense oral cavities in their heads.
Right.
And they, as you remember from Before We Leave You, they talk about sound before sound, where they, before the sound even reaches them, the pressure field comes right in. And these animals are washing up, so many of them are washing up dead with their brains blown out of their ears. And we can do something about this. We have to find ways to stop this.
Right. Now, we're starting to come to the end of this segment, and I just went back and double checked. There was a segment right after our first interruption by our guests out there that we didn't get on tape, and I thought it was so good that I thought that we should. And so I just want to ask you again. I realize that we're going over material that we've already covered, but this time we'll be getting it on tape. And that is when I first opened your book and I started reading about Jamie Hastings, I said, oh, she's a psychic, she's in San Francisco, she's into whales and extraterrestrials and near-death experiences and galactic federations, and she's out in the dimensional ecology, and she has a dog that she loves. And I said, my Lord, that's Patricia Cori.
Well,
and I said, isn't this story about Patricia Cori? So could you comment on that?
Yeah, my answer to you then was, and it is again, that although there are certainly aspects that are about my inspiration to even write the story, and that would be, of course, my love of whales. Of course, I am also a San Francisco psychic, etc. But no, the story is not about Patricia Cori. It is about a heroine who, by the way, I'm already halfway through the sequel, and
wild.
Yeah, and there you might see some similarities about Patricia Cori in there too, but she is her own entity, and I would never present myself as a superhero or this mighty psychic, because Jamie is this like 90% accurate psychic, and I would never propose. So I love to be in humility and just say that I'm doing my best out here. But yes, there are aspects to Jamie that reflect a little, even her relationship with her mother. Woven in there is my adoration of my mother and all that she allowed me to be.
Great. Okay. Well, we're, as I said, we're just at about the end of the segment. Do you have any final words, and how can people get a hold of the novel, the Emissary?
My final words, for starters, because it's hard to do final, are that please pay attention to what's going around in your world and to be as grounded as possible, because anyone who's listening to your show is probably like us. really dealing with some pretty galactic concepts and injustices and things that need to be righted on this planet. At the same time, let's love her. Let's get our feet wet. Let's walk in the forest. Let's get back to nature, because that's where all the beauty really is. And to remember, even though we're observing ourselves or imagining ourselves as off-earthers and galactic star beings, and we love that, but let's always remember that we came here of this planet, and by the love of God, let's get to work. And with that message, I would really welcome everyone to please pick up the Emissary, and hopefully to be inspired enough by it that it will trigger some of that purpose within you. And you can find it everywhere. It's in all the bookstores, and if they don't have it, you can order it. And it's important to honor the bookstores so that they don't all close. I'm finding lots of esoteric bookstores closing because we aren't taking care of them. So your bookstore, or of course Amazon, and all the other online bookstores. And the website is theemissary.net. So please have a look, and I hope you'll read it and love it.
Great. Well, look, thank you very, very much for taking the time to come on here. I know that you have an awesome schedule there in Hollywood. And
Hollywood. Yeah, it is awesome, and it's fun too. But, you know, Alfred, it's always an honor and a joy to be with you, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Wonderful. And we hope to have you back from time to time as things progress, so you can tell us about all your successes. Thank you.
Crystal Skull. Good work, and thank you for all you're doing for the planet Earth.
Thank you
and the
very much.
stars and the galactic councils of the distant world.
Thank you.
Take care.